Three sorority sisters meet for brunch 20 years after graduation. The waiter asks, "What will you have today?" "White wine and a salad." "White wine and a salad also." "White wine and a salad." The conversation starts, and Amanda says, "Why don't you tell us a little about your life, Stacy?" Stacy says, "It's amazing. I'm married to an international businessman, and we travel all over the world in our own Boeing 747. We have a home in Paris. We have a home in Palm Springs. We take our yacht to Saint-Tropez. Last week we were with the Kardashians, and I think Kim is one of the sweetest people I've ever met. What about you, Amanda?" "Well, much like you, Stacy. I'm married to an international heart surgeon, and we travel the world in our Boeing 747. We have a home in London, a home in Miami, and I shop on Rodeo Drive. Last week, we were with the Obamas, and I think Michelle is the sweetest person I've ever met." And there sat Hilda. "What about you, girl? What's your life been like?" "Well, nothing like yours. I just married old Joe Jones out of college, and we live in a really nice double wide, just out of town. He cuts meat down at the grocery store, and we went to Six Flags last year, and the kids were really excited about that." "Hilda, what happened? You were everything in college. You were the cheerleading captain. You dated the quarterback of the football team. Isn't there anything extraordinary about your life?" "The only thing I can think of is that when Joe gets sexually aroused and has an erection," Hilda lifts a finger and points with her other hand, "we can put 13 parrots on there. Like this." Amanda wrinkled her brow, looked over her glasses, and said, "How many?" 13 parrots. They keep drinking white wine and talking, and the truth starts to come out. Stacy says, "Guys, I got to level with you. I lied earlier. My husband isn't an international businessman. He's a real estate agent, and we live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We got to go to Dollywood last year's, and the kids were real excited about that." Amanda said, "Guys, I lied too. My husband isn't a heart surgeon. He sells insurance where we live, in Topeka, Kansas. We went to Branson last year on vacation, and that was kind of fun." Stacy said, "Hilda, thank you for being so honest with us earlier, but is there anything you might have exaggerated about your life?" Hilda said, "Well, sometimes," points at tip of finger, "when we put that 13th parrot right there on the end, it has to flap its wings to stay on." "I heard that one of those adult film starlets was making a world record attempt in our town. You know, the kind where she bumps uglies with as many men as possible in an hour. Outraged, I went to see if I could do something about it. When I got to the hall where it was going on, I saw a queue of about 450 men waiting their turn. My stomach turned at the disgusting carnal display. All of a sudden, I was filled with righteous wrath, and I set upon those lust-filled demons with the strength of 20 men. One after another, the men in the queue were laid low by my mighty fists, as it was in the days of Samson, and nobody was laughing when I was done. I guess I punched up the fuck line." Three sisters were all getting married within a short time period. Mum was a bit worried about how their sex life would get started, and made them all promise to send a postcard from the honeymoon with a few words on their first impressions of marital sex. The first girl sent a card from Hawaii 2 days after the wedding. The card said nothing but Nescafe. Puzzled at first, Mum went to her kitchen and got out the Nescafe jar. It said, "Great from beginning to end." Mum blushed, but was pleased for her daughter. The second girl sent the card from the Maldives a week after the wedding, and the card read, "Rothmans." Mum now knew to go straight to her husband's cigarettes to read from the pack, super strong king size. She was again slightly embarrassed, but still happy for her daughter. The third girl departed for her honeymoon in New Zealand. Mum waited for a week, nothing. Another week went by, and still nothing. A month passed, still nothing. A card finally arrived from Auckland, on which was written with shaky hand, "Air New Zealand." Mum took out her latest travel magazine, flipped through the pages, fearing the worst, and finally found the ad for Air New Zealand, 10 times a day, 7 days a week, in all directions. So one day, our gynecologist got bored with his job, but he realized that he had spent many years training with his hands, and he decided he would switch to careers, to something else that he could use his hands with. Not wanting the stress of being a medical professional, he decided to attend vocational school to learn to be an automotive mechanic. He worked really hard and studied day and night. When the results of his final exam came in, he was quite perplexed. It showed that he got 150% on the test. The doctor figured this had to be a mistake, so he called his instructor at the vocational school. Doc said, "There must be some mistake. It says I got a 150% on the final exam. Could you explain that?" Instructor said, "Well, for the first part of the test, you took apart the car's engine perfectly. That counted for 50 points of your test. Then, you went and put the engine back together perfectly. That was another 50 points. But those last 50 points? Well, that's because none of us have ever seen anyone do it through the muffler before." A man goes in a brothel with his last $100. He slams the money on the reception table and goes, "This is all I have, but I'm really horny and absolutely need to get laid today, no matter what." The receptionist thinks a little bit, takes a long look at him, and finally accepts his money. She sends him up to a small room. Inside waits an okay-looking girl, and to his astonishment, he gets the full service for an hour. The next week he's back, but this time he has only $50 and the same urge. The receptionist takes his money again and sends him to another, far bigger room. He finds a really cute girl inside. He leaves after 2 hours and the best sex in his life until that day. Not able to forget the second girl, but completely broke, he finds himself begging at the reception the next day. He totally expects to be kicked out, but he got lucky 2 times already, and 3 times is the charm. Without having paid even a cent, he finds himself in front of the most beautiful, sexy girl he ever laid eyes on. A few minutes later, she fulfills every desire he ever had, and even a few he himself never knew he had. He leaves after a blissful eternity. But this time, he stops at the reception to ask how it's possible that he paid less every time he came and always gets a service the money would never be enough for. The receptionist grins, "You told us you needed to get laid, no matter what. The first girl is a newcomer, so we took a few in-action pictures for her profile that day. The second time, there were about 20 guys behind the mirrors rubbing one out. Today, we did a live stream for about 100,000 viewers." My friends, if you want to watch other funny jokes, subscribe to the channel.